in general, technology, not even just ed tech, is just so beautifully unclear. I guess I'll say it's just kind of limitless, and it's hard to predict that. But I feel that by equipping students with that ability to adapt to that rapidly changing technology, and then being able to look a little bit deeper below what some of these tools are or different ways they can be applied, I think will really be setting them up for success in the future. I know I'm an outside of the box thinker, and I always encourage students to say, why? And I hope that they always kind of channel their inner toddler and keep on asking why, because that's what's going to be driving technology development in the future.
I'm Nikki Herta, and this is Bright, Stories of Hope and Innovation in Michigan Classrooms, a podcast where we celebrate our state's educators and explore the future of learning. Over these past 2 years, educators across the country have experienced some of the toughest challenges of their entire professional careers. Even seasoned teachers have expressed feeling like first-timers all over again when asked to teach in a fully virtual environment. We shouldn't glorify or gloss over these hardships. As we move forward together, however, it is worth celebrating the new skills teachers and students acquired along the way. Sarah Wood, who serves as an educational technology consultant for Kent Intermediate District, says she's seen a skyrocketing of the troubleshooting and technological skills of teachers in her community. She's witnessed teachers bringing new techniques into the face-to-face classrooms that they might have never tried before. They're asking more advanced questions and are eager to take the best of what they've learned in the face of adversity to further student learning. In today's episode, Sarah shares her reflections on the recent history, current state, and beautifully unclear future of technology in the classroom. Can you tell me more about what drew you to education in the first place and kind of how that journey led you to where you are today?
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. I've always felt that, you go back to when you're a kid and you're playing in the basement with your friends or your siblings, I was that one, let's play school. I've always been passionate about working with kids. I mean, even from a young age, whether it was babysitting, and then in high school, I coached volleyball and basketball for middle school teams. And then I just kind of had that gut feeling like education was my calling and that's where I needed to go. And so I kind of went down that path, and I ended up going to Aquinas College, where I was able to take my love, which not many people say this, my love of math and my love of computer science, and also combine that with an education degree and really put my passions, my interests to work and working with the schools. I worked in a local public school district for 14 years as a technology and media specialist. And then after 14 years there, I just recently transitioned to the Kent ISD, where I've almost been there for a year. So I'm loving that I'm able to carry on that passion and still work with people and preach the good word of math and computer science.
Yeah, and that's a pretty nice transition. So you'd mentioned that you have a passion, right? And this makes sense with your role for educational technology. And I was just wondering if you could talk more about what educational technology can do for students and how that benefits student engagement, which you said was another area of passion for you.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, and I know it might be cliche to say, but I was that student growing up where I needed the different things. I was not someone to sit there, study vocab words, study dates in a history book, and really internalize what I was learning. Yep, I could regurgitate all those facts, but I never really felt that passion about things. So I think that's where my passion about educational technology and engagement comes from, is kind of my desire to be that person that other people might need. And I feel with educational technology, there is so much potential that allows students to not just consume information, but also produce and be active contributors to not just their school community or their district, but the global world, because that's what we're preparing them to do in the future.
Can you think of a student project that just comes to mind when you say that, when you talk about, the difference between consuming and creating information?
Mm-hmm. as I'm also kind of, like I mentioned recently, out of the classroom teaching experience, in my last year in my previous district, I was split where I was doing some mostly fourth grade STEM teaching and then also doing coaching. And so I'm going through standards and looking at what I feel, these kids need and what we can kind of spend more time on and not as much. And it really came down to like, I had this feeling that the students really didn't have a good grasp of why we have technology, why we're using it, and then the processes that are behind. Like, it's not just I open up my computer and I type up a paper in Google Docs. There's more of a reason to why we're doing some of these things. And so I was like, okay, computational thinking is kind of the avenue that I want to take. And you say computational thinking and people go, give you a nice nod. Oh, okay, that sounds great, but not really understanding what it means. So I felt like it was a great opportunity to not only teach the students, but also model for other teachers different ways to do things. And so I believe firmly that relationships are at the heart of all that I do as a teacher. And so I really spent a lot of time getting to know my students, their interests and things like that. And because of technology, they're always like, when can we play Minecraft? Are we going to play Fortnite? And I'm like, I'm going to say no to the Fortnite at school. But then I started thinking deeper about the whole Minecraft aspect of things and how that could be a great avenue to introduce computational thinking. So I started with their interests. And then what I did was I developed a whole unit about that was all framed around computational thinking, but with a Minecraft theme. So I had students creating digital comics. They were using hands-on materials to build pixel images. They were doing the love-hate of brain games to really stretch their brains where they're like, I love this. Oh, I hate this. This is so hard. And I'm like, I love that. I love it when it's hard. But they were coding with Minecraft. We did reading and how reading comes into the whole bigger picture of things. They were creating pixel art with perler beads. They were doing some augmented reality and then kind of bringing it back full circle of how they can be a bigger part of their community and give back is that I had a station where they created sack supper lunch bags for kids' food basket that was all Minecraft themed. And so I challenged them to insert like their characters or things like that, saying some of the phrases that they took away with computational thinking and that. So it was, I don't think if I had framed it in another way, like it wouldn't have been as engaging to them because let's be honest, computational thinking doesn't necessarily get people up out of their seats and saying, let's go. And so it was a really great idea as far as implementation. And because even at the beginning of the school year, students were like, do you remember when we did Minecraft? Because it got cut short with the pandemic. They're like, can we finish up? Can we do more Minecraft? So it was really awesome because that told me that my time spent investing in them and their personal interests made a huge impact on their learning and that they still wanted to continue it and they wanted to know more.
This past year obviously has been somewhat an anomaly, I would say, in the educational technology world, I would think. So can you speak at all to just like how you see your role having changed or like just, I guess, what you're seeing as a result of the past year, like the relationship between teachers and educational technology, the kinds of questions teachers are asking you, any kind of reflections in that area?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because this is the conversation that comes up a lot in our ed tech circles as far as how can we take what worked really well from the pandemic and continue those things that worked really well, but also incorporate the things that we did pre-pandemic that worked really well and kind of merge those worlds together. And I think the biggest thing that I have seen is that I feel teachers need like their own little personal cheerleader, that they need someone to let them know, like, you have done amazing things in this past year, like whether you feel it or not, but think of where you were a year ago. Would you be doing the same things technology wise that you're doing now? I think even like their troubleshooting abilities like are off the charts because, think of, when you're, especially with elementary students, when you're trying to connect audio and video and then having them interact with different websites and things online, like what if you're in the classroom, sometimes that can be overwhelming, but now you're doing this virtually. And so I think it's really just elevated everyone's skills and really kind of made us think more about what is the future of educational technology going to be. And I feel like it's funny because we always joke about with like cars or computers when you're buying them, like as soon as you buy it, like it's already outdated or needs an update or something like that, and how technology is just rapidly changing, and that we're really preparing our students for jobs that don't even exist yet. So everything that we've learned from this pandemic, I feel like is truly going to shape this unknown future of how technology is going to be used. And I feel that it is my job in the role that I'm in to really help teachers not only realize how far that they've come, but the skills and abilities that they do have and what they can do moving forward. Because some of the questions I'm getting now are, okay, I've used Google Docs for this. I've used Google Slides for this. What is something different that I can do with this? Do you know any other tools I can use? Like, I would not have been getting those same questions a year ago, but they already have that confidence in themselves to do these things with their students, where now they're challenging themselves, which in turn is challenging the students. So I feel like it's just opened up like such an awesome world.
Do you have any favorite tech tools that either you've used in the classroom as a teacher or that you've seen teachers use? I'm sure it's difficult to name just a few, but just like what comes to mind is like things that you're really excited about.
I feel it might be a little cliche, but like Google will be forever my go-to suite of tools. And I feel that way because it's like, it's always changing. They're always updating their products because their end users are really at the heart of their product. And so if they see there's a need or it's, I think in education specifically, teachers are very vocal about, I wish we had this to make this process easier. And so they really work with that. And I feel that there's so many ways that even, docs and slides and sheets can be manipulated to more than just recording information, slideshow presentations. So for like example, at the beginning of the school year, I know Bitmoji classrooms were huge, and Google Slides was the delivery tool for that. And recently I had a teacher who contacted me and said, hey, I've seen these virtual relaxation rooms. It reminds me of the Bitmoji. Can you tell me more about it? How can I build my own? So I ended up building a whole PD around it. And other teachers that had signed up were like, I had no clue slides could be manipulated in this way to do this. So it's really cool to see that. And then when they already understand like those principles of universal design or good quality instructional design practices, like all of a sudden it comes together and they're like, I can see the use for this. But I have to say one thing that I've kind of been exploring, but I haven't quite transitioned it from my personal world to the educational world. So I'm trying to really kind of think more about that, is the whole artificial intelligence AI sort of application. I feel I've with my kids, I played with the Wombo and Viola apps, which I highly recommend for quality family entertainment if you want some good laughs. But thinking about how can we take those things that are intriguing to students and use them for educational purposes more than just, creating a fun avatar or a fun music video or things like that. But I love when students can see those tools that we're modeling, whether it's something that they're doing at home or they're seeing their teacher do it, and then say, wow, that was really cool. I want to do that myself. Like, I feel so many teachers have relied on a variety of ed tech tools in the past year. And so things such as like Kahoot and quizzes were things that were easy for teachers to deliver, didn't take a whole lot of time for them to create, but kids love them. And so they're like, I want to create a quizzes for my friend on, my favorite things, so they're starting to see those things and what they can do with them. And I saw even students who were creating Google Sheets for their own like daily planner or, just kind of tracking, this is what I need to do, all my daily responsibilities. And this wasn't something that someone had told them to do or showed them step by step how to do, but they've had enough experience in it where they're like, I want to take this to the next level in my own personal life. So it's pretty awesome when you see that.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. When you think about the future of educational technology, what is it that you hope that teachers and students will be able to use technology to do in the future? So I know that's obviously a big question, one that you can't possibly really know the answer to with any degree of certainty, but just kind of what are some of your hopes and dreams?
I feel technology is just rapidly changing, and it's a good thing. It's like the blessing and a curse kind of thing, because we haven't always fully learned or adapted to one thing before, the next update or the latest version or the next product comes out of something. But I think that also provides us with really kind of unlimited opportunities to do amazing things with what's at our fingertips. I feel that just in general, technology, not even just ed tech, is just so beautifully unclear. I guess I'll say it's just kind of limitless, and it's hard to predict that. But I feel that by equipping students with that ability to adapt to that rapidly changing technology, and then being able to look a little bit deeper below what some of these tools are or different ways they can be applied, I think will really be setting them up for success in the future. I know I'm an outside of the box thinker, and I always encourage students to say, why? And I hope that they always kind of channel their inner toddler and keep on asking why, because that's what's going to be driving technology development in the future.
That's a great answer to that question. And that you said, I love that you said beautifully unclear. So it's almost like you're saying that your hope is that you can't predict it, right? You're hoping that you don't already know because you want it to be something outside the box and something we couldn't even right now maybe even imagine that will just, really change the way that we think about something or change the solution to a problem or, give us the ability to do something we weren't able to do before.
Exactly. I know that we say that we're preparing students today for jobs that don't exist yet. And I think that's so true. When I was going to school, being a technology consultant wasn't even something like I'd heard of, or, was like, what, I want to teach people how to use technology, but that's what I'm doing. And I'm over here living my best life doing that. And I feel like even in my, 15 years of experience in this, I look back to where I started to where I am today, like, holy moly, it has changed so much. And I love to look back on that because I look at how much I've personally grown, and hopefully that the people around me have grown as a result of that.
I'm Nikki Herda, and you're listening to Bright, a podcast that's made possible by Michigan Virtual, a nonprofit organization that's leading and collaborating to build learning environments for tomorrow. Today, I'm chatting with Sarah Wood, an educational technology consultant for Kent Intermediate School District. Up next, we chat about Sarah's favorite teacher, her vision for student learning, and what advice she has to offer her fellow educators right now. I was wondering if you could tell me about your favorite teacher who had an impact in your life and why they were your favorite.
And I feel that when you ask any teacher this, right away, they sit back and kind of smile because they have that one person in their head who was a game changer for them. And for me, I remember that was my 7th grade teacher, and she'd been teaching for a while, but when she came to the school I was at, it was her first year there. And I was like, holy moly, this woman just rocked my world. She was my math teacher, and math was something I told you I've come to love, and I love math, but it was not something that came easily to me. I always had to work at it. And she was the first teacher who said, hey, I believe in second chances, especially in math. So I remember we get our nightly homework, go home, do all of our problems. And we go back the next day, trade with a partner, and we correct homework. And then we got it back, and we had the opportunity to correct those mistakes that we had, figure out where we went wrong. And for me, that was the first time someone ever said, here, try it again. The goal was for me to be my best self and have my, good understanding of what was being shared. And I was like, no one has ever said it was okay for this, and so I feel like that has always stuck with me. And that's where kind of my try it mentality has come from, because if you don't try, you won't know, and you might be great at it, or you might need to go back and, fail forward again.
Wow. The fact that you remember that is wild to me. That's making me tear up because, like, the fact that you remember that your seventh grade teacher said, try this math problem again, like that teacher probably didn't think that was a memory you were going to hold on to for, however many years, So that's, it goes to show you don't always know the impact that you have as a teacher.
Absolutely. And it might be that was just like her personal teaching philosophy. Maybe someone had, along the way said something that to her as she saw it. But I was like, for me, that was a game changer. And like, that was where I felt my world kind of flipped, where like, maybe math isn't so bad.
If you can try again, I guess math isn't so bad, right?
I know.
Great. And this is another big question, but I'm wondering if you can tell me about your vision for student learning. So the way I like to, explain that is just, if it were up to you, Sarah, what would you want to see for every student?
I feel for every student, I would want them to know that school and learning is so much more than just standards and content. I feel there's so much that goes into the whole educational nurturing process that we provide for students each day, that I would love for like every student to be a collaborative communicator, but is also a creative, critical thinker. And I feel that this can be done with or without technology. Obviously, with technology, it kind of steps up the game, and I am a firm proponent of using technology. But if you're using technology just for the sake of using technology, that's not going to increase engagement. It could just even confuse students. So it's counterproductive to what you would want to be doing. So I think preparing those students for being just lifelong learners, and really just, like I said, always asking why am I doing this? And I'm sure it drives every teacher nuts, because it drove me nuts when you got the why, just like parents, you're like, because I said so. But I think giving them the opportunity to understand that why will allow them to be those collaborators, those communicators, those creators and critical thinkers that we want them to be. Because once they have those processes down, they can easily apply that to the content. They can apply that to the world around them. So I really would love them to see a bigger picture of education beyond, we're doing math, we're doing science.
I think you kind of already touched on this, but, just in case you want to speak more to it, what role would you say that technology plays in facilitating this vision?
I think it goes back to kind of what I mentioned as far as being good digital citizens. And I feel that sometimes we assume, because our students, kids live in this digital world, that they know how to do it, but we've seen time and time again that they need those gentle reminders of, that's not an appropriate video, or things like that. But helping them realize that even through just consuming, they're impacting the world around them. And so when they can consume in positive ways, then that helps them start to think differently, and it kind of transitions them into that producing aspect of life. But really getting students to understand a bigger picture and have that good digital citizenship, like, in their heart, where they know, like, their inner voice, their conscience, that so when they go to do those things, like I mentioned before about creating, collaborating and things like that, whether it's online or offline, they're going to be making smart choices. And that's what we want: good, ethical, leadership for our future, where our students can see that technology can be a positive thing to change the world around them.
What words of advice or encouragement would you offer to educators right now in the face of this, wild year?
I think about this a lot, and I feel we keep on always, we come back to like, oh, once we get back to normal, like things will be fine. But our normal will not be the same normal as it was before. And I'm kind of happy for that. And I hope that teachers, students can reflect upon these experiences and take what has worked really well, but then also look back and say, you know what, I'm this person I am today in this moment because of those experiences that I had. Some of those experiences are positive. Some of those are, growing experiences, but they all impact us in different ways. And I would love, just in general, not just teachers and students, but like educators in that, to keep an open mind for how to do things, because technology is so rapidly changing, and not just technology, but education. And keep an open mind, be willing to share what you're doing, listen to what others are doing, and learn from each other, and just constantly keep that communication going. And I feel that there's so much that we can learn from each other where we're not always recreating everything. And so I think that's important, and really just being true to themselves, knowing what's important, what their passions are, what drives them, their goals and things like that. And I think kind of keeping yourself grounded in that, truth to yourself is a good thing. It kind of helps you, stay firm on things that are important to you. And that sometimes that reminder that, moments are just that. It's a moment. It might be difficult, but, we can always move on from that moment.
There's a strange and somewhat uncomfortable beauty to the fact that it's difficult, if not impossible, to predict how technology will shape the way we teach, learn, live, love, work, and play in the future. In many ways, the maturation of the internet reknit the social fabric of our society. It shifted the type of jobs needed in our economies and the type of skills that young people need to master in order to be happy, healthy, and responsible citizens of a world in which information can travel thousands of miles per second between tiny computers resting in our pockets and our purses. Without a doubt, it's hard work to imagine, let alone invent, the kind of technology that will allow us to better ourselves, our students, and our world. But with leaders like Sarah forging our path forward, if there's one thing we're certain of, it's that the future is bright. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Bright, Stories of Hope and Innovation in Michigan Classrooms. This podcast is produced by Herbie Gaylord, is hosted by me, Nikki Herda, and is shaped by many of our passionate and talented colleagues. Big thanks to Krista Green, Ann Perez, Ann Kraft, and Brandon Batista for their contributions to this episode. The Bright podcast is made possible by Michigan Virtual, a nonprofit organization that's leading and collaborating to build learning environments for tomorrow. Education is changing faster than ever. Discover new models and resources to move learning forward at your school at michiganvirtual.org.